coaching program for the 3rd of February, 2022. It's going so fast. We're talking about the protocol, and today is week 5 of the Science of Getting Rich series. Yes, super excited. Before starting, I want to tell you guys this because it happened today while I was working, and I kept thinking about both of you and the protocol. So I was doing this weight where it's basically a swing. So you have to get a heavy weight and you swing like you're skiing, right? You swing it up. And I said, oh, I figured this out. All I need is momentum. And then the trainer said, no. Well, she said, yes, you do, but you also need control. Then I was thinking about the protocol. So we create this protocol, right? And that's the control. So we've created a control way by which we're actually going to run a clinical trial. This is what we're going to do. But if we don't move forward with it, if we don't select sites, if we don't initiate sites, if we don't enroll patients, if we don't do what we're saying is in the protocol, that is the momentum, then it doesn't really matter. And so when we're monitoring or we're QAing or whatever it is that we're doing, I always say we see the protocol like the control document, right? This is the parameters by which we're actually going to do stuff. But the momentum is actively making sure that, the parameters that have been set are being adhered to. It's like you're driving down the highway or any road, and momentum is you just speeding, right? But if you don't have any control, you're going to hit everybody. So I was thinking about the dance between that. And likewise, we're going to run a clinical trial. We can't just say, hey, we're just going to start momentum, recruit sites. We start moving on. We start doing all the things that were actually, I just realized I was screaming. I'm like, why am I screaming? We just, we start moving on. We start recruiting sites, but we don't have a control document, right? So we always need to have that dance between momentum and control. The storm that is happening, the cyclone on Mauritius, that cyclone might look like it doesn't have control. It does. The cyclone, if you actually look at it, if you look at the weather map, all the the way that they map those, it's like a heat energy, And if you see the picture of cyclones, it actually is controlled. It has a certain pattern, but the momentum, sometimes it feels like, it doesn't have any control. So even times when we can look at something and think, you know what, this is chaos, there is a control that is actually in it, right? So that's what I was actually going to share. But the second thing I wanted to talk about before starting is that when we're moving forward in life, the ideas that we have and the thoughts that we have, right, that's a control. But moving on them, okay, you guys joined this program, you're now moving your life, there's momentum in your life. So I always say you want to make sure that you always have the control, the idea, whatever you want to do. And then you have to make sure that when opportunities arise, you actually step forward. So that was my little thing that happened today. And I was thinking about this. So I'm not going to go into the piece of the CRA focus. I want to talk about, so we're doing section 6.9 today, statistics. Basically, in the protocol, we have to define all the statistical methods, including any that are planned for any interim analysis. So we're looking at the data, we're looking at, and they typically have different types of statistical methods. I mean, I'm not like a big thing. You can Google it. There's the MRM method, and sometimes you could be on a clinical trial, and then that's the one piece that I know about, but I don't need to know the details. I'm always happy about that. So, but there are different statistical methods by which they are actually going to organize the data for submission. And the FDA has a whole guidance on that. There's a lot of stuff about the types of models that are actually used, and it's even becoming more and more sophisticated. Then, of course, it relates to the number of planned subjects, the number of enrolled sites. Some of the things that they look at in the analysis would be they divide the patients up. Say the patients are in a clinical trial, they might look at all the patients who took drug but did not complete, the patients who belong to a certain cohort. So it's all there. There are people who are statisticians. This is their job. And once the model has been decided in terms of how the data is going to be analyzed in the clinical trial, then they make sure that they adhere to those parameters. Okay, so they talk about the calculations of power and all of that stuff, the justification, the power of the trial, and clinical justification. That's all you can actually Google. That the sample size will know about, and how exactly they are going to analyze that data. level of significance to be used, and I took criteria for the termination of the trial. These are all the stats piece, procedures for accounting for missing, unused, and spurious or damaged products, procedures for reporting protocol deviations. We have to define that. We have to also make sure that we have a good statistical plan. And then we also have to make sure that everything is well documented. And of course, selection of subjects, like we have all randomized subjects, all those subjects, all eligible subjects, evaluable subjects. So that's all defined in the SAP. That's there's the statistical analysis. That's all defined in there. So it's a very important part of the trial, because at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're collecting data, and that data has to be organized in such a way that it actually justifies you guys know, right, the hypothesis. So I have a certain hypothesis that if you take my product, these are the things that are supposed to be expected. But in order for everything to happen, I have to make sure I take all that data and then I organize it in such a way that when somebody takes a look at it, they can draw certain justifications. There's sometimes people say there's a bias in stats. I mean, people can make data do all kinds of things, right? That, there was this saying in clinical trials that we just collect the data, we clean it up. When it gets to the stats people, they make it show that the drug actually works. So, okay, right? I'm not going to go into too much details, but you guys get my gist. Okay, so then the next thing is direct access to source documents. It's easy. I mean, you have to make sure that we define the fact that you, as a clinical research site, you're running the trial, the sponsor needs to have access to it. Any organizations that are involved, they have to have direct source to all this data, whether it's the monitor, auditors, inspectors, all of that stuff. They actually have to have access to that. So let me go into the protocol, and then let's take a look at what the SAP is for this protocol. Okay, so I'm going to move down. I'm going to go to we have the measure of reliability. Here we go, safety measures. It goes all the way down. The study procedures, IP, safety, adverse events. Here we go, statistical considerations. That's it. Okay. See the SAP, the statistical analysis plan, that's what I talk about. The biostatistician in clinical trials, they will actually work on that, but there should be more. Typically in this clinical trial, it's gonna be, they typically have they didn't put a lot about their SAP, but let me go online and let me see if I can pull a SAP for you guys to take a look at. Oh, and that will, I'll download it and, let's look at the statistical analysis, clinical trials. Let's get one. Here we go. Template. Okay. Let's see what this looks like. Let's see if it's something, because there's so many different types. And then let me just work on this. I'm going to select all, and let's make sure that you guys can actually see it. It's so interesting how sometimes there we go. Let's see. No, it doesn't have anything on there, but I'm trying to get something that we can use, and I should have downloaded this, but that is fine. Here we go. I'll go to clinicaltrials.gov and I'll share. Here we go. Okay, I found one. I knew there is always one. There is always one somewhere. So I will share this with you guys. Let me resume share, and then let me do a new share. I'll do a new share, and let's take a look at Is it open? Should be. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So this is a SAP. that I found on clinicaltrials.gov. See, it tells you the study design, the sample size calculation, the aims and objectives, the outcome. These are typically things that you guys do not like use or pay attention to, but it's good to know. It tells you about the primary outcomes, the population that has to be analyzed and everything. And then there's always an intro, and then you have a study design, and then the screening population, the criteria. So we're basically looking at screening, pre-screening, confirmation, baseline visit. In this particular tier, this is the sample size. It is like, these are the stats people's type of stuff, but it's good to have an idea. They look at the sample size calculation, and then they have all these to the power of 1 to whatever. Yeah, I never pay attention. I mean, I know this. I know what the SAP is, but I never. I mean, I read it all the time, but I don't need to know the details. But I just want you guys to be aware that everything is defined in this plan. This is a diabetes protocol, so the aims, the outcomes, primary and secondary outcomes, and these are all the cardiometabolic risk factors. Then they talk about labs, they talk about the adverse events, and then all this stuff. And then when you go further, okay, I guess this is yeah. So this one is using, they're using a multiple imputation. No, it's an intent to treat. So they're using the ITT analysis, which means that every single patient that receives study drug will be analyzed, right, you guys? So I hope that's helpful, right? You at least know there's a SAP. And I do participate when we are working on this. I mean, I sit in and everything, and we all contribute. I work more on I contribute the study design, and then our stats person, they do all the other stuff. And I make sure that they have the population right, the primary and secondary outcome. And then it's more of a confirming that this is what we're doing on the clinical trial. There's nothing that has actually changed. And then they go ahead and do whatever they are doing. Okay, so let me stop this share and I'll go back into the protocol. Let's share screen. Why did I stop the share? I actually had the protocol open already. All right, so let's do that. This is our protocol, okay? So we talk about CONMET, but so this protocol now, the way that it's set up, they're linking it to the SAP. So they're linking it to the SAP, which is actually fine. There was another piece that we talked about, access to study documents. All of this stuff, study monitoring, auditing, that's all part of it. These are the things that are expected. We're going to have site visits. The monitor is going to come in. They're going to monitor all this data. And the expectation is that you should have it available. Source records, right? You have to have those available as well. And of course, maintain confidentiality. So those are the things that the protocol has. So the good news, what you guys have learned is there are some protocols that outline the whole statistical plan, like the whole model. One model they're using, the justification for this, the model that they're using, it's detailed in the protocol, but in this case, they have it as a separate document, right? Which is fine. Okay. Then let me go back to something I was going to look at. So let's look at measures and reliability. So in this protocol, they have like all of these types, how they're going to be measuring the protocol objective and assessment tools. Remember how I talked about, we have to prove a certain hypothesis, right? And then these are the tools by which we're going to be using to measure it. Okay. And we talked about, remember, safety and efficacy as well. So these are also points of safety, right? But they are also the ways that we can determine that the product actually works. So this has a lot of rating skills, which is normal in CNS trials. So these are all the rating skills, but this also ties into whatever analysis is being done. Because in this case, remember that there are two arms of this product. You have the product that you're taking of this project, the product, and then the psychotherapy. So it's like two trials in one, because you're taking drug and then you have to sit with the psychotherapy, and then they have to monitor you and respond to all these questionnaires. And it's the two together that actually proves that the product works, right? So it's a little bit different, because they're basically saying, listen, when we give someone this product, it actually works, but then they also need psychotherapy. So at a certain dose, this is what happens, but the psychotherapy actually increases their chances for being treated. Okay. So that's it for the protocol today. I believe that's it for the protocol today. So let us go into our mindset for the sense of getting rich. Let's play from the current slide. Voila. Week 5, thinking in a certain way. Remember what I said? There is no economy but the economy of thought, thinkonomics. Before starting, I want to ask you guys, the last video I posted on Facebook Live has just taken off so much. And I don't know if it's because there are more people joining. Let me ask you, have any of you listened to it? Elizabeth, have you listened to it?
Yes, I did.
What is it in the video that you really enjoy? Because I'm getting a lot. I mean, right? That video is taking off so much. Like, it's every day there are more people viewing it, and it's just so. What is it that you really enjoyed about it? Is it the fact that I speak, then I summarize everything that I talked about, or do you like that I tell a story? What did you enjoy about it?
What I enjoyed about it is that you speak and summarize. So it makes someone understand.
Okay.
At the same time, you're talking about live things that are happening with us. Yes. Yeah. So
got it. Okay. Okay. So, okay, good. I'm on the right track then. Thank you for that. I'm on the right track because that's
it was muffled and you realized
yes, it was. It was. Yeah. And by the way, it's my headset. So I'm going to be using my microphone next time because it's this headset. Okay. It went in and out with Facebook. So I have a mic that I'm going to be using next time. Yeah. Very, very techie mic. So that's what I'm going to be using because I really want people to get it. And you're right. I want it to be a conversation and ideas and just that people can, this week is going to be a surprise. What I have like topics lined up for the next 10 weeks. I mean, literally, B knows how I am. There's always something. But what I found is you're right. When I speak, because I really want people to understand, and I really, really want somebody to listen to it and go, wait a minute, I can apply that to something in my life. It's not just some airy-fairy concept. Yes. And a lot of times, sometimes we hear these things, but because they're not being spoken by someone that you can relate to. Like in our group, we have all kinds of people from all over the world. There's everybody there, like really. So people actually, it's easy for you to relate to it, because this is somebody that Sometimes, when these speakers speak, it's, oh, this person is some kind of like a Tony Robbins or whatever. Like, you see them all the way up there. But when you realize that there are other people like me studying this, then it's a whole different ballgame. So it's really just a conversation. And I just want to just share. I have so many ideas that I just want to keep sharing and helping people. But you're right, Elizabeth, thank you for your feedback, because when you organize something, when you take the time to prepare, like I prepare for every call, it adds value to people. And that goes back to, you want to give people more in use value than you take from them in cash value. Absolutely. Because I could just go on there and start speaking. And I've seen some of those. I always like to make sure that there's a direction in which I'm going. So when somebody listens, you never know where somebody is. You never know what they're going on in their life. I have suddenly fallen on my face. I continue to face challenges. And it's because of that I'm learning. I keep practicing. And I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is what he said. He said that, because somebody asked a question, he said that you have to have routines. Like I have my morning routine, and that will never change. It's now, I get up now at 2:45-ish. I normally get up at 3, but for some reason it's 2:45. And I go through a very strict routine all the way up to date, like on this call. So he said that, and somebody said, well, how do you, he said, life is not easy. This person who was interviewing him, for some people who are out there, it's difficult to have a routine. So he said, so when you go outside and you come back into the house and your hands are dirty, don't you wash them? When you go to the gym, you come back, don't you wash your hands? When you get up in the morning, don't you take a shower? That's a routine that you don't even think about. So the point that he made, which I want you guys to really hear, is this. You want to have routines that you don't think. So when I get up at 2:45, it's just automatic. I immediately go into meditation. It's a whole ritual. Meditation's done. There's my breathing exercise, journaling, scripting my day in. I script my day in every single day. So there's just something that I do that my brain doesn't even think, because you know why? Your mind is constantly wanting to just have you be comfortable. So when you give it things that it doesn't think about, it is so fantastic, because then that's out of the way. And the second thing that he said was that you have to do things whether they are easy or they are challenging. That's what he said. He said the thing in the world is that people don't want to face challenges. Okay, like what's happening in Mauritius right now with Lizette's daughter. She's overcome it. I mean, they found a way. They're surviving, right, Elizabeth? What happened with your MPH? You found a way. You visualized. You didn't just sit and say, "Oh wow, I'm just gonna." You actually did the thinkonomics. Okay, so he said that we have got to make sure that we do not just do things because they are easy. And that's my life. My life is not easy. I'm going to tell you guys, Karoma, and I'm not complaining. I like it. When you're called to greatness, your life cannot be easy, because you have got to overcome challenges. But the difference is that when you stop, B and Lee know about it on my team. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, I'm constantly trying to switch, change things out. But the overwhelming desire within me is that I do not let my message die within me. I do not let people not hear what I have to say. That way they too can transform their lives. So that's something I was going to say. So thinking is so important, you guys. I cannot, even visualizing is part of thinking. The way that you're thinking, whenever something happens, ask yourself, what is this thing here to teach me? I can overcome this. We really underestimate what we're capable of. We really do. Thinking in a certain way is week 5. So I always talk about the tools that shape my life. Thinkonomics. There is no economy but the economy of thinking. Thinkonomics. That's it. Okay. And then last week, what did we talk about? Gratitude. And I can go on and on about gratitude. I give gratitude. I write a gratitude every day. I actually will give gratitude for a challenge. I'll say I'm very grateful for this challenge, because I know that even though I cannot see it now, this challenge is going to bring forth so many amazing things in my life. So I always say, okay, thank you for this gratitude. Thank you for whatever is actually happening, because I know that as a result of this, things are only going to be better in my life. So gratitude was what we talked about, how it aligns your mind, how the universe is a universe of gratitude, right? The energy of appreciation is the vibration of this universe. And so no matter what is happening, we actually have to give gratitude all the time, no matter what. So then the statement was that first, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Second, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. So there's this thing that things come from, it gives you everything you desire, and you relate yourself to it by a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. Okay, I give thanks for the things that I haven't even seen. Like, what is it? Faith is the hope that I like the second part of which says faith is the substance of things not seen. So faith is the whatever it says before. It just slipped my mind, but faith, the substance, the second part of that sentence, this faith is the substance of things not seen. That's the faith. It's not the thing that you see. The faith is actually the thing. So the gratitude is the highest level of faith. I not only give thanks for the things that are in my life, but I give thanks for even the things that are coming, the conditions and circumstances that have been lined up for me that I have no idea about. And yet I give thanks for that. And then the another level of thanking is I just give thanks, not for something. I just give thanks. It doesn't have to be that I'm giving thanks because something happened or something will happen. That's true. I just give thanks. That's it. Simple. So let's move on to what we're talking about today. Thinking in a certain way. This is just basically throwing water on a, you guys are the ducks that I'm throwing water on, because you guys already know this stuff, right? Thinking in a certain way starts on, we have got to create a clear mental picture in our minds that's energized with emotions. Like thinking about you going remote, but you have to think about it with feeling when you visualize, which is what you did, Elizabeth. And it's not a vague, mystic concept. You have to align your thoughts with emotions. That's the key. You can visualize, you can just see yourself, oh, here I am, I'm doing well, things are working out. You want to catch on to one idea, and then when you visualize, you really feel the same feeling that you're gonna have. That's what you actually want to visualize, right? Sorry, guys, something just came up. Let me get out of here. I normally shut down everything, but sometimes things do happen. Like I literally shut down everything before doing this presentation. So um it's the feeling. Feeling gets the blessing. Feeling gets the blessing. Feeling, it's the feeling. When I visualize, I feel it. And it has to be directed like the magnetic pole and a needle of a compass. That needle of a compass, no matter what you do, you can hold the needle of a compass, you let it go, it goes back to its magnetic north, right? And I talked about this on the Facebook Live, and I've mentioned it. You want to make sure that you focus repeatedly, uninterruptedly, for a long period of time. That's what it is. It's like you're that needle. People say, hey, Elizabeth, or come here. You're like, okay, great. You know how little kids are so determined to go get something? That's the best example I can give. And they say, I want that. You're like, no. You pull them. The minute you let go, they keep going back to it. That's what you want to do. And when they want something, you cannot stop them, right? So that's the focus. And it has to be clear and definite. You have to define it. You have to be clear. This is what I do. So I have a map of all the things that I would like to happen in 2022. It's a list. It keeps going. Everything, whether it's bonuses for staff, whatever it is, right? Salary, I don't care. All of that, it's there. What are the things that I want to do? The place that I want to move to. My mother's all her appointments and the outcomes. So I put the outcome like the colonoscopy. They didn't find anything. So I said, okay, great. That's what's going to happen. Then I now break it down into bite sizes. Like my focus right now is to really share this Achaibo clinical message with more and more people. And in consulting, it's really making sure that my projects are very successful. So then if I'm thinking about my health right now is to get stronger, and I am getting stronger. So I start visualizing it into bite-sized pieces. So every day you think of the 3 most important things that you want to actually accomplish, right? And then you visualize those. But on the grand scale of things, maybe you've written over 100 things. But every day, on a day-to-day basis, what do I want to accomplish today that actually is part of the grand design that I've set up for myself? Okay, so that's what we absolutely want to do. The purpose of making it clear is to bring it into tangible expression. So the way the universe works is it's through vivid pictures and emotion. I do it over and over and over. Like I literally sit and I do it over and over again. Like I would see myself going, yes, yes, yes. And then go back, see myself saying, yes, it happened over and over and over and over again. Okay. And then I talked about faith, that faith is knowing that you already have it in your possession. The substance of things not seen. Faith is the substance of things not, or is that what it says? And then the evidence of whatever. Anyway, I focus on the second part because that's what I really like. Faith is the evidence, right? It's the faith that is the evidence, not so much the substance, which is good because at the end of the day, faith always has to be there because we're constantly creating new things in our lives. So that clear mental picture, and I don't know why I have so many parentheses here. Okay, so that clear mental picture I repeat it again, you must have it continually in your mind as the sailor has in mind the port towards which he or she is sailing the ship. You must keep your face toward it at all times. You must no more lose sight of it than the steersman loses sight of the compass. So it's such a focus that, like that little baby, it doesn't matter what people do. adults will come and push you, pull your hand and say, no, 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 don't go there. But the baby, the minute you turn around, it goes back. It goes back to what it wants. So that's what you have to have. So the picture has to be clear, very clear. So that's the first thing, right? I figure out, okay, what do I want to accomplish here? Okay, the picture has to be clear. But let me even break it down in more details. The clear picture is the outcome, as I've already explained to you. So the picture of what you want is not so much, the idea itself. Like, I want to be in the best shape possible. I want to be, what exactly do you want, right? Then you see an image of yourself, maybe lifting weights. Movement is important. That's another thing. I don't think I've mentioned it to you guys, but when you're visualizing, you need movement. Movement is very important when you visualize. So, for example, like you, Elizabeth, you saw me, you saw yourself telling me that you've resolved the issue. It's movement, right? You're seeing me, there is stuff happening, you're explaining stuff to me. Very important when you visualize. Never visualize anything that's static. If you want to have a big party and you want to invite a lot of people, and your dream is to have a massive party and people come, you do not just visualize like food sitting on a table or people standing around. You visualize cars coming, catering, people coming, or you're cooking. So really, I know, right? These things do work. They really do work. That's why I love it. Like, that's why I say, remember I said in the Facebook video, some of the stuff I say, if it doesn't jive with you, that's okay. It works. It really does work. But if so, the people who are enjoying it are the people who really who know that they've practiced this and it actually works and they're actually trying it. So I love that smile on your face, Elizabeth, because you know what I'm talking about. So you visualize that. Always visualize in movement. So the clear picture is a moving, clear picture. Okay, if you visualize that you want to stand on stage one day and receive your MPH diploma, you want to see somebody giving it to you. You want to hear people clapping. You want to hear people going, Elizabeth, amazing, and all that stuff, Or whether it's Lizette wanting to see her daughter and she comes up from Mauritius, you want to see her smiling. You're picking her up from the airport and she's happy. So you want movement is very important. Okay. And then it's a clear mental picture and it's continuous. That is so important. Repeatedly, you focus on that picture, but it's a continuous thing, which means that you see it. You have to basically get to the point where, when I visualize to the point where I am like, enough, I believe it now. That's what I do. I do it over and over and over and over again. And then I'm like, okay, Tengu, you believe it now, so I don't need to do it anymore. And you will know when you're ready. You will know that you really believe it, because you can. So it's continually. But what you also do is that as you're going about life, your mind is still on the picture, right? You're living and acting like the person who has really accomplished that goal. So when you visualize, you have to then step into the energy of it. And for me, facing the port from where you're going, it means that you actually start thinking and feeling like the person that you're visualizing yourself to become. Okay, how would this person react? The person who has already, who's already a CRQ analyst, whatever it is, how are they going to be looking at life? The person who already has their MPH, how are they going to be? How are they going to be thinking? So you have the clear mental, what did I say? Moving picture. It must have activity. The mind doesn't like anything that's static, because life is about movement. So you got to always have movement. Okay, and that's why you always want to see the outcome. And the outcome always has movement. The outcome is always you doing the thing that you want to do, whether you wanted to go on a trip to some country, you see yourself, in the country, you're moving around you. So movement is very important, but you never have to lose sight. And I have certain goals right now. I don't care if someone came and burned my home down and I'm on a tree out. So long as there's Wi-Fi, I'm going to be with this laptop. I know for a fact that nothing is going to stop me. That's how you want to say to yourself, let the whole world melt. I will still be able to accomplish what I have to accomplish. Yes. That's what you do. You got it. It's like a moth, the moth or butterfly, when there are lights, or candles, they're so drawn to it, and then the candle engulfs them. So you basically want to die to the passion like that. You have to be so gung-ho about it, that focus, that nothing loses sight. But it doesn't mean that you don't adapt to it, because as you're going towards your goal, once you actually start taking action and moving forward, certain things will change, but your your end result will never change. It doesn't matter how you get there, you adapt, you adjust, right? Like when a plane is flying, many times it's actually off course because it's constantly adjusting. That's really what it's doing. Or when these rockets go to the moon, it's the same thing. I've forgotten who was saying that. I think it's Dr. Waitley who was saying that, most of the time it's off course, but it's constantly adapting, it's constantly adjusting its course, constantly. So that's that. Focus, very important. Okay, so with the protocol, we talked about statistical analysis. We have to have the SAP to be able to analyze all the data that's coming for the protocol, break it down to the batch sizes so that, we can actually prove the hypothesis, right? The rationale for the clinical trial. And then we talked about source documents, like, you have to have access to them. The site just has to be aware. Source documents have to be available and data. And then, of course, here we're talking about thinking in a certain way. The clear mental picture that you need to have in order to move forward. It has to have momentum. Okay. You have your control, the fixed idea, but it has to move. It has to be clear. You have to know exactly what you want. And no matter what happens, you actually have to go and accomplish it. And then we talked about Oh, okay, perfect. So is this maybe a slight delay? Let me go back because there was one more point I wanted to make. Yep. Again, the clear mental picture, no vague and misty thoughts. It has to be definite. The vision has to be clear. You see the different ways that Wallace D. Wattles talks about this. It's the same point he's making, but he's saying you got to be very clear. The clarity, it has to be definite. You focus. It has to be continuous. It has to be, you have to repeat it and you do it over and over and over again. And it must happen. If you follow this, it must happen. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Because sometimes it's not so much that it takes a long time. It's just that, we take 10 steps forward, we take maybe 4 steps back. Then we take another 15 steps forward. We have that doubt that comes in. It happens to me too. It's okay, Tengu, well, this is something you want to do. I get excited and energized and I'm like, oh my goodness, will this really work? Then I'm like, no, of course it's going to work. Then I go back, right? Is this going to work? What did I get myself into? And then I actually go back. So those are some of the ideas that I wanted to share today. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about is how to use the will. The will that we live in this world, people think the will is you have to go out and force stuff to happen and be determined. It's all internal. So I'm going to discuss that. That's our next topic, how to use your will. The one after that is it's further use of the will. So we have 2 weeks of just talking about the will in the science of getting rich, because the will is very important, right? It's an internal power. It's a way of, again, it's all thinkonomics at the end of the day, but it's the will, the willing. You will yourself to do things internally. And Wallace D. Wattles is going to explain that as well. And I will add a lot more to it. Okay, ladies, that's it. With protocol, stats, SAP, source data, we've shared some really amazing ideas today. Momentum, control, focusing on your desires and not letting anything stop you. Like holding on to it. So, any questions? Any comments? Only my stomach had a comment because I'm hungry. It said, yes, I do have comments, and I'm always used to that now, because I wanted to just say this before we continue. Something like hunger is really an illusion. Just because one feels hungry, it doesn't really mean that it's time to eat, right? So I am very aware that the hunger is just the noise is just a response mechanism that I've trained myself to have. So hunger to me, I fast 20 hours and above. The time between meals for me is always, today is probably going to be like maybe 18 or 19 hours because I got back late yesterday. But even when I'm working out or I'm lifting weights, it's just I've taught myself to think in a certain way. So many times, even the things that are happening with us, are just from what we've taught ourselves. That's all what it is. It doesn't, that's why they say, don't even take your mind too seriously. Don't take your emotions too seriously, because it's just an end result of a way of being, right? If I like, when you, like, you guys know about, what's that experiment called? You guys will, I'm sure you guys will be able to remember, where this, you know, dogs were basically, um, there was an experiment with dogs where there was a bell that was rung, and every time the bell rings, then the dogs eat. And then it came to the point where they will just ring the bell, they won't give the dogs food, and they will salivate. So it's just conditioning. That's all what we've done. We just condition ourselves. Maybe in the past, when I had challenges, I would be angry, hit the wall. I mean, I never did that, but I'm sure that there are other reactions that I had in my old self when I was growing, that you just practice. So when somebody upsets you, just get angry, insult them, hit whatever. And I actually see people do that. Is you just practice that. To change, you just have to just replace it with a new habit. So even our responses, even they say they're biological responses, I'm always questioning. I'm like, is it the biological response, or is something that I've taught myself to do? That's all. Did I teach it to myself, or it's something that is biological, that is actually innate in me? And there are many things that we believe that were biological that come to find out you can actually overcome that. So I'm always asking myself those questions. But again, willing comes from within. It's the will to transcend whatever is going on in your life. It actually comes from within. To transcend those habits, to transcend the ideas that I had about myself, the limiting beliefs that I had about myself. And so the point that I was making is that many times the things don't happen, not because they are not there, is because I have trained myself to think that it's impossible for me. That's all. And so what do? I don't need to go to the extreme. It's saying this. Let's say that I've been informed by the powers that be that I have a condition that's going to kill me in the next 6 years. Now, I know that that can be true and that cannot be true. If I believe them 100%, then that is inevitable. But what if I wanted to come back to a belief that there is a force that flows through me and that is capable of healing me? I'm not just going to go and say, nah, that's not true. That's not true. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. Because I won't start from there, because why? I've already trained myself. So the will at that point is a tiny speck of hope. But what I'm going to say is that, let me start by getting other opinions. This one doctor said this. Let me go see some other doctors. Then I can go from there and say, let me go see some holistic doctors. Let's see people who use traditional ways of healing. And then while I'm doing that, I'm repeating some affirmations to myself. So it's a slow journey. We never swing completely like a pendulum, like just quick, right? The best way ever, whatever challenge that you're facing, the way that you use your will, you've defined your picture, you know what it is. If the picture is too extreme, like, they say, don't put your basket all the way out there to a point where you yourself cannot believe what you really want. Always put it to the point where you say, you know what? I can actually do this. Yeah, right? But you never want to swing too far. So you always start with convincing yourself slowly. I had talked about this idea that there is a phrase that I often repeat, and there are many aspects of it. Something like, things are always working out for me. Somebody might not believe that things are always working out for them. So what would they say? You know what? Oftentimes things do work out for me. If you don't even believe that, you can say, sometimes things do work out for me. And if you do not even believe that, you can say, you know what? Things don't have to work out for me, even when the conditions have not changed. So you guys get my point, right? Whenever you have a very, very difficult situation, convince yourself slowly. You can even start off by saying, oh, wow, somebody went through the same situation. And you can Google people who went through the same situation. Go on YouTube, watch a video of people who overcame that, because I promise you there are people who actually, whatever you're facing, somebody was able to overcome that. We live in a very small world right now. Evidence is everywhere. Okay. So your will might start like this, that willing to will yourself to do the things that you have to do. But as you convince yourself more and more, the spectrum gets bigger. And then you eventually get to the point where you're like, of course I can I can overcome this thing. Other people have done it. You've seen evidence. You've been saying the same things to yourself over and over again. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week. But I just wanted to just, because we talked about visualizing, I know visualizing is important, and, there are ways to do it repeatedly, but then sometimes you can't even visualize because there is no evidence. I mean, it might be a situation that is so dire, but you start slowly. You start, because that's how the mind works. You don't want to shock it. You just start slowly telling yourself phrases that slowly move the pendulum versus just having it swing. It's just a slow recalibration, and then you eventually get to that point. Wow, conditions in my life don't have to change for things to work out for me. There's been some situations where things have worked out for me. Sometimes things do work out for me. Many times things work out for me. And then you eventually get to things are always working out for me. You got that, you guys? Okay. Yep. So like the whole thing that's going on in Mauritius right now, that too shall pass, might be extreme. That too shall pass. But then you start with, oh, there are other people living on Mauritius who have survived, just like my daughter. They're doing fine. And I know that, this situation will clear itself. So that's a slow convincing. It's okay. Well, wow, look at that. Things are getting better. The cyclone is over. So it's like having a conversation with a 5-year-old. You know how you convince children, right? You tell them something, they say, that's not true. No. They say no. But then what do you do? Or you say, oh, you know what? They say, I want this. Please, I want chocolate. And then you say, if you just say chocolate, I'm not giving you any chocolate, they get so pissed. But then if you say, you start saying, okay, you know what? Have there been times when you've wanted something and they didn't give it to you? I've done it with my little nieces and nephews. It trips them. They're like, Auntie Tengu, it's true. Then I say, so if I don't give you any chocolate now, then right, because there have been times when you asked for chocolate, you were not able to have it. They're like, you know what, Auntie Tengu, it's true. But if I just say, I'm not giving you any chocolate right now. You're not getting any chocolate. They would flip. So you slowly, it's a soothing. You say, okay, but guess what? Maybe today you're gonna have cookies after you finish your homework, and then we can look at chocolate in future. And then something I also ask them would be, if I don't give you chocolate today, sweetie, will you do you think that you're gonna die? They're like, no. So you know what I mean? It's like a little child. You have to cajole them. You have to say things slowly. You have to it's like you're negotiating, but you're negotiating with yourself. You have an extreme situation. Like I had a really extreme situation where just taking care of my mom, my health. I noticed there was something off with my toes, and then it was like my blood sugars were jacked up. And then for a second, I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to overcome this? And I said, but Tengu, this is nothing. You're just going to work out more as this situation is over. And you've done this before. There are people doing it, so you can do it. I literally had to sit and have a talk with myself, and slowly, then I said, so how are you going to go about this? I've been documenting my journey, the progress, slowly, because evidence is always good. When you see evidence that you're making progress, is good. So you always want to have talks with yourself. It's so important. There's an extreme situation, and it also calms your nerves. It's good for you, because this Daniel Pink, who wrote this book, his recent book is about how important it is to regret. He said, we don't want to say I regret something. He said, when you say you regret something, what that means is that there are two things. The first thing is that you acknowledge that it's happened and you don't want to be in that situation anymore. But he said, it's not that you're going to focus on it. You're going to use it as a guiding post now to show you the things that you don't want to happen in your life. But the difference is that people regret, but they stay in their regret. They wallow in their regret, but the regret is a tool for you to use to move on. Okay? So that's what he thinks. And he talked about this whole thing about empathy with yourself, compassion, having conversations with yourself, saying, you know what? Yes, this has happened, but guess what? We can overcome this, and slowly convincing yourself to move to the other spectrum. Okay, I think I'm going to drop the mic now. So, okay, you guys, that's it for today. Sunday's going to be juicy. What I have planned for the Facebook Live talk, so please Be there so I can call you guys out 9 a.m. Central Time. Like on Sunday, I can call you guys out. I can say, Elizabeth's here, Lizette is here. So be there. Any questions? Any comments?
I'm excited to be there. To see what the other people's responses are. So yeah, I'll definitely
Yeah.
join on Sunday. Is it five?
Sunday, 9 a.m. I think it's 5 your time. Isn't it 5 your time? I think. Yeah. Elizabeth, yours is 4, right? Is it 4 or 5? 9 a.m. Central. I think it's for Elizabeth. It's 4 or 5. I can't remember. But I did it on purpose because it launches you for the week. So that Sunday is really the point is you're going into the work week, Monday starting.
Like for now, the 9th. Yeah.
But there's always a replay too. But it's nice when it's live because people actually, they're engaging and stuff. And more people. The first day there was nobody. I think there was one person, but I didn't even see her. And then this other week I had 3 or 4 people. Then the shares are like it's reached 153 people, and so it's just the momentum is picking up and it's wonderful. So, but I have other things that I'm going to do. It's not just talking. There'll be other things that I'll be able to do when it hits 1,000. We're making it a private group. As it hits 1,000, it's going to become a private group. Then, because we really have to monitor then to really make sure it's a space that right now everybody on there, trust me, is perfect. But once it hits 1,000, because after that, managing is a little bit more challenging when it's a public group. So it's going to go private as soon as we hit 1,000. I'm sure it's going to happen in the next few months. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ladies, I appreciate both of you. Keep shining, keep spreading your light. Okay, and we'll just keep going. And everything is juicy. Things are, I can't believe it's actually February, and it's going to be an amazing year. It really will be. I believe that.
Thank you.
And things are always working out for all of us, right, B? Things are always working out for everybody. One way or the other, things are always working out. They always do.